energy and excitement that you have put in to this day. I know for the next, I'll give a round of applause. That round of applause is for the students and staff here that recognize the importance of history. We got about 25 to 30 retired staff members, teachers, nurses, professional staff. Quick calculations, about 1,000 years in education represented by these 25 to 30 people. Talk about stories and talk about their memories of Martha Brown. So I don't ask a whole lot as principal, but what I'm going to ask each and every one of you is for the next probably 80 to 90 minutes. There's going to be some speeches, there's going to be some songs, there's going to be some academic challenge trivia, there's going to be some unveiling of this time capsule. We're going to ask everyone to kind of do the best they can to give each speaker their cooperation and attention. And think back for just a second, and there are a few people here today, and we'll meet them in a few minutes, that were actually in this gym on February 1, 1965. I missed it by 2 years, but Mr. Antes, Mr. Amiat were 8th grade students sitting like you're sitting right now. So how special is that? There are some teachers here that started their careers shortly after February 1. So this is truly a great historical moment for Martha Brown. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce a general music teacher, Mr. Steve Best. Please rise. Please rise. He's going to sing this national anthem.
Girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the singing of our national anthem.
welcome and say good afternoon to Dr. Callan, Mayor May, Town Supervisor Park, Representative Mr. LaFoy, members of the Board of Education, faculty, staff, retired staff, parents, community, members and friends of Martha Brown. I think that includes everybody here. We're here today to celebrate our 50th anniversary as a Fairport Junior High Middle School. On February 1st, 1965, approximately 600 students and staff moved to Martha Brown Junior High School and brought life into its halls and classrooms for the first time. I guess you could say the birth of Martha Brown took place on that day. As we celebrate the 50-year history of our school, we're looking at bridging its past with the present and making important connections to help shape the future of our school and our students. As we study history, it is not surprising to find that the word contains the word story. All of you here today have an important story connected to Martha Brown. Over the past 6 decades, some of you represent our school's first students. Some are school's first teachers, while others here have made important connections to Martha Brown either as staff, students, parent, or community over the past 50 years. Our students spent the past several weeks putting up posters, giving us a snapshot of what it was like in 1965 and, of course, in 2015. Many of you here today spent your careers touching the lives of tens of thousands of young adolescents. Our first teachers, many of whom were in the back row right there, set the stage for the caring environment and student-centered classrooms that we currently enjoy at Martha Brown. A trademark of Martha Brown has been the important part that each adult plays on the lives of its students. Regardless of the position we hold, teacher, counselor, administrator, paraprofessional, secretary, custodian, bus driver, kitchen staff, or lunch monitor, each adult comes to work each day for one purpose: to make our school a positive place for kids where they can learn, grow, and become great citizens. Many of you here today enjoyed such a rich experience as a Martha Brown or JP student that you decided to spend your teaching career at Martha Brown to keep the story alive for other students to benefit. I'm going to take a second right now and have all of our former Martha Brown and Johanna parent students just take a stand that are currently working at Martha Brown. Let's see where we all are. I'm going to stay standing for a second. How many of you had parents or siblings that worked for Martha Brown or at Martha Brown? Talking a lot of people that have decided to come back and spend their careers and continue the story of Martha Brown. Our memorial garden, located outside our 6th grade white team wing, has commemorated the lives of approximately 30 former Martha Brown teachers and 1 student that died over the past 50 years. It is with great honor that we take the time today to pay tribute to our great school and the millions of stories that have roots here at Martha Brown. For the next hour or so, we'll hear many of these Martha Brown stories from former students and staff. Our musical ensembles today will pay tribute to the 1960s music from that era. Thanks to those teachers that put aside some class time over the last couple of weeks, and thanks to our students that will be performing today to honor Martha Brown. Our Academic Challenge Bowl team will match wits with some of our smartest teachers back in the 60s and 70s in a fun contest of trivia and knowledge. At the end of the program, our social studies teachers and students will uncover the contents of this time capsule that has rested silently for the past 50 years enclosed inside our cornerstone. We're all going to unveil that, and absolutely no one has seen the inside contents of that time capsule. The contents of the time capsule will be on permanent display in our trophy case and will help us make that important connection between our past, present, and future. As during the course of the next week or so, we will look to create our own time capsule of artifacts to put inside that time capsule, to put inside that cornerstone, to seal back for the next 50 years. All of us here will continue to play a large role in the continued history of Martha Brown. It's now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Rich Funke. He's a New York State Senator, also a parent and grandparent of family and students at Martha Brown. He'd like to share a few words and offer a proclamation to all of us at Martha Brown. Mr. Rich Funke.
Thanks, Mr. Dunn. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday to you. Our office, our State Senate office, is right around the corner of the Village of Fairport, so I have a very good reason for wanting to be here in the Village of Fairport and to be here in Martha Brown, having 3 grandchildren, having gone through here, Leah, Ryan, and Kyle still in Martha Brown School. So I appreciate the opportunity to offer a proclamation from the state of New York making this Martha Brown Day, and the opportunity to celebrate the 50th anniversary here. The thing that fascinates me most about Martha Brown is that Martha Brown herself wanted no part of having this school named after her. She didn't want her name on any school for that matter. That's not why she was a teacher for 47 years. Certainly not for the recognition. But by every measure, the success of her thousands of students, the appreciation of parents, the respect of her peers, there was absolutely no way that Martha Brown was going to escape attention. No way for her to escape laying that cornerstone. And what a great place this has been for family and faculty for a half century. So I just want to thank all the teachers, all the administrators, Dr. Callum, Mr. Dunn, everybody who makes Martha Brown such a great school, such a great place to be day in and day out. And to the students, I would encourage all of you to just take a moment to consider all of those who came through here. Maybe your own mom or dad, maybe your grandma or your grandpa, and do the very best to make all of them proud of you. Thanks very much for having me today, and here's a proclamation.
This belongs to all of us. This definitely belongs to all of us and all of the staff back there in the benches. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to have Dr. Callum come up and just give a few opening remarks about his experience with Martha Brown as well as all the schools in Fairport. Thanks, round of applause for our superintendent.
Before Mr. Funke leaves, I just wanted to say how happy I am that you're here today, and that you've only been in office for like 10 minutes, right?
That's right.
I think I've written to you 4 or 5 times already. So it's in support of our kids and our teachers, and you are what's important to all of us, and I know you're important to Mr. Funke as well. So thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm going to be very brief, a minute at most. But as Mr. Dunn, I think it was last week, he called me up. He was so excited. I couldn't believe it. He called me and said, "Oh, Bill, you had a minute and to come down here at Martha Brown." I peeled, got into my car, and came down here as quickly as possible. It took me into the boiler room, and they had in back of the cornerstone, they had the block knocked away. And just put your hand into that hole. Put my hand in there and tap, and there's this metal box. That's pretty exciting stuff, let me tell you. It's something 50 years ago that was planted, and some of the people here who were there 50 years ago, really excited. So I think there's only one more guy who's more excited than you, Mr. Dunn, and that's me, to see what's in that box. I just can't wait to see what's in there. And I was hoping that you were going to plan making this group in front of you today part of history too. Yep. So just as Mr. Dunn was talking about that there are those stories of 50 years ago. 50 years ago, people put their thoughts, their artifacts into this tin box and created history. All of you today are going to have a part in creating your own story, your own history. So I hope that all of you are around 50 years from now when that stone is opened up again. Mr. Dunn and I don't think we're going to be here.
I'm going to try.
Give it a shot, but I don't think we're going to be here. But that history will be created today. You are a part of history today, and that is just an awesome, awesome event. So enjoy the day, and I can't wait for the rest of the activities today, Mr. Dunn. And I got my camera ready. I'm ready to see what's in that box, and I'm really excited. Have a great day.
Thank you. On behalf of Town Supervisor Mike Barker, Mr. Joel LaFay is here, Deputy Supervisor, and I know Joe's got a daughter out there somewhere in 7th grade, so even more special. Here's another story connection with Martha Brown, Deputy Supervisor, 7th grade parent. Doesn't even go there. Deputy, thank you.
Thank you guys. Very happy to be here. On behalf of Supervisor Mike Barker and the rest of the Parenton Town Board, I'm Deputy Supervisor Joe LaFay. I'd like to present this to Mr. Dunn and all of you as well. It says that the town of Parenton is proud to recognize the 50th anniversary of our very own Martha Brown Middle School, named after retired Fairport educator Martha Brown, who by the way was a teacher of one of my co-workers. The school opened its doors in 1965 as a junior high school, housing grades 7, 8, and 9. Numerous accolades have been bestowed upon Martha Brown Middle School in these past 50 years. Most recent is the prestigious Middle Schools to Watch designation, a national and statewide award received in 2012. We are proud to have this remarkable middle school in our town. Therefore, we proclaim this 30th day of January in the year 2015 as Martha Brown Middle School Day in the town of Parenton.
Thank you very much, Deputy Supervisor, Mr. LaFay. That's great. Again, this is going to get passed around. This belongs to all of us, everyone here. Real quick story before I introduce Will Hughes. Maybe 20 years ago, we're on the DC trip. Of course, Martha Brown, right? And we had one of the tour guides at the time that worked for the city. And she came up to me one time and she said, because I used to always say, Martha Brown over here, Martha Brown over here. And she said, who is Martha Brown? She's always late. Didn't realize that was the name of our school. But anyway, Will Hughes is going to do a nice job kind of talking a little about Martha Brown and connecting a lot of the characteristics she brought into the classroom to what I think we bring into the schools here every day. So, Will, nice round of applause for our Student Council President.
Oh, don't look to the past, nor say to a Brooksville. I said it's Martha Brown. She said, come on and learn with me. This school is my destiny. She said, oh, come on and learn with me. Come on and learn with me.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Will Hughes. I am the Student Council President for 2014-2015. Let me begin by asking who here can tell me something about Martha Brown? No man, right here.
I know that it is a school in Fairport, New York, housing grades 6, 7, and 8.
Well, that's true, but I'm not talking about the school. I'm talking about the person. If you're like me, you probably go here. Oh, you have a question?
This summer, a retired Fairport teacher took me on a tour of Livonia, New York, and showed me the house where his grandfather lived, right next to the house where Martha Brown was raised before she became a teacher, and she actually taught in Livonia, New York, before she came and taught here.
If you're like me, you probably attend Martha Brown Middle School every day and have no idea about the person behind the name of this amazing school. Why is it even important to know where all this comes from? Well, because in life you want to surround yourself with inspiring people. And fortunately, by attending Martha Brown Middle School, we are surrounded by inspiration every day. Martha Brown, the person, can be summed up with 5 qualities that describe who she was as a person and what she believed in. First, she was known to be flexible in her attitude. She started teaching at Northside School in 1920. She taught math, English, and basically whatever they threw at her. That's kind of the definition of going with the flow. Perhaps we can embrace that flexible attitude she modeled for us and maybe complain a little less every day. Next, she was a very, very caring person. Caring is defined as meaning to look out for someone or being concerned. Listen to this story and tell me if this doesn't sound like she was caring and she was a caring individual. When a little girl was ill, Martha Brown, the person, stopped every day at the girl's house after teaching all day at school to tutor her. This went on for several months. Clearly, this is a living definition of caring for another. We can learn from her actions. Maybe we can go out of our way for someone else a little more often. How about perseverance as a great quality to possess? How long can you stay with one job and not feel like it's time to move on? Martha Brown, the person, dedicated her life to education in Fairport for 37 years. 37 years. Her caring is evident again in the long and passionate 37-year career in Fairport. But we can also feel inspired by her perseverance. The next time you feel like giving up, look around you and be encouraged. Martha Brown, the person, retired in the role of principal. Clearly, leadership is another quality that can be used to describe her. It is fitting she became a principal because she lived her life by example. This again can inspire us to live our lives today. We need to live every day setting our finest example for others. Martha Brown, the building, opened February 1st, 1965 for 7th and 8th grade students. In September of that year, the 9th graders would be added to the building Martha Brown. The person was selected to have the building named in her honor. What does that tell us about her? She was loved. Martha Brown was loved because she loved. She loved teaching, she loved Fairport, she loved. That's probably the most inspiring legacy that she has left us, that we have the privilege to demonstrate every day when we walk these halls. Thank you.
I'll turn it over to Mrs. Fabrizi in our 7th and 8th grade mixed choir. Let's give them another round of applause. That was amazing. Some of the guests in the back can relate to this. I was 10 years old when our whole family, we didn't go to many movies as a family. I can't remember too many. My dad thought it was important. We went to White Castle Hamburger in the village, in the city of Rochester. We saw this at the cinema. I was 10 years old. The whole family went and saw Sound of Music. Groundbreaking movie back in the 60s. And Julie Andrews, of course, is still alive, had her starting her career singing that song. I'd like to bring up some of our retired staff. Some of them have been iconic legends here at Martha Brown over their careers. I'm starting off, first of all, with Coach Logan. Coach Logan actually began his teaching career in physical education in the fall of '65. So he was really here for the very first class where we had 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. Let's round of applause for Coach Logan.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. On behalf of the retired teachers, Mr. Dunn, we'd like to thank you for all your staff for all your hard work that you've done with this celebration. I want to dispel the rumor that retired teachers just don't go any place for a free lunch. We go someplace to be with dear friends and places that are dear to us, so we appreciate this. Mr. Dunn asked me to talk about the old days. As he said, I got here in September 1965. The school, I want to talk about the outside. The outside is vastly different than what it is today. Fairport was a very rural area with a lot of working farms. Very little traffic went down Awalt Road. That's because there were no housing developments over there. Across the street, in front of the building, was a woodlot and orchards. I believe it was apple orchards. Behind the school, where the condos, apartments, and Wegmans, they weren't there. It was a working farm. It was a cow pasture. So it's extremely different than today. Over here by the school, was on the gym side, was a gigantic woodlot. Where the new gym was, there used to be a full-size soccer field there. In the fall, when we go out in the early morning, this is so rural that there'd be deer out there on your field, there'd be pheasants, there'd be rabbits, so it was a very, very nice place to be. When I got here, I was 22 years old. With different times, different attitudes, different expectations, but I was greeted by a very professional staff that would take you under your wing and teach you, help you become a better teacher. Some things that were different back then, and this is not judgmental, the male teachers showed up. They came in suit and tie, with sport coat and tie, and they wore them all year. Maybe in the hottest summer day, they would put their sport coat or their suit jacket over the back of their chair, but they were required to show up that way. The female teachers came in dresses or skirts and blouses. Pantsuits were not in and not allowed. Teachers always referred to each other in the hallway by Mr., Miss, Mrs., no first names. That's just the way it was then. Students, you guys also had a dress code. The boys came, long slacks. They wore collared shirts, and the shirt tail had to be tucked in. Because one time after phys ed class, a boy got out of my class with his shirt tail out. Mr. Peck came down and told me I wasn't doing my job, and I was a little worried. He said, one of your guys got out with his shirt tail out. So that was the last time that happened. And then they had to wear casual shoes. Sneakers were reserved for physical education class. Girls who came in dresses, skirts, and blouses all year long, even in the coldest days, that was your outfit. Before Christmas, Easter, picture day, sometimes the students would wear their best clothes. Sometimes the boys would even wear ties. Needless to say, shorts were not allowed. They didn't come in for a few years after I was teaching here. You went to your locker twice a day. In the morning you went, you gathered all the material you needed for the morning classes, your books, notebooks, and you took them with you for the morning classes, then before lunch you dropped them off, had lunch, went back to your locker, picked up all the books you needed for afternoon classes. And then when you were passing in the halls, we had hall monitors in those days. You walked to the right-hand side, and there were hall monitors stationed throughout the halls and make sure that that's where you were. You went single file up the steps, stairs, and it was expected like that. In physical education class, you had a uniform. It was blue shorts, white t-shirt. I think it got up down to ankles, which was just written up in the paper. I think it was like $5 for the whole outfit, which was pretty inexpensive. It said Fairport Physical Education, and then you put your name on the uniform. Girls, I'm not sure what they called it, but it was a one-piece uniform, blouse and shorts together. We took attendance twice a day, second and seventh period. When we did, we wrote the name on a sheet of paper, put it on the door, and then a student aide would come along and pick it up. I guess today you do it with a computer. We didn't have computers in those days. When you got your report card, you brought your report card to class with you, and the teacher marked your report card during class time. Here's one that will probably shock you a little bit. Everybody showered in those days. The school supplied towels. You had no choice. So you took a shower. Sports for the boys was quite limited, even more so for the girls. The boys in the fall, you had football, soccer, cross country. Winter time, you had basketball, wrestling, and swimming. And then in the spring, you had track and field, baseball, golf, tennis. For the girls, unfortunately back then, that was before Title IX, there were no interscholastic sports, but you had cheerleading in the fall, and you had cheerleading in the winter, and thankfully interscholastic sports came in for you ladies. But we had a physical education teacher here, Mrs. DeLucas. She would run intramurals in the fall and do things like soccer, field hockey, and then in the wintertime she'd do basketball, and then she'd do softball in the spring. And then she and the other person that ran the intramurals would pick an all-star team, and then they would take those girls and have a play day, because they didn't want to make it sound like it was too competitive. They had a play day with other schools like ER, Pittsford, Webster, and that would be a home-and-home thing. Technology was really limited in those days. Like I told you, we had no computers. Kids were not allowed to bring any electronics to school, but there were very few electronics anyhow, so they never brought anything there. No cell phones. There were 2 pay phones inside the entranceway to the school, and it cost a dime to use. So you had to bring a dime with you to make a phone call home. We didn't have smart boards. We had blackboards with smart teachers. What we did. What the teacher would do was make her presentation or his presentation, so you would hear it, and then he would write it on the blackboard, and then you would see it and read it, and then there's no copying machine, no Xerox machine. You would write that down in your notebook. You had a notebook for each class. And even in math class, there were no calculators. You did everything in your head. Okay, the only way they could do stuff, the other technology to enhance the program, they had slides, they had films, sometimes a record, or really exciting would be to bring in a guest speaker. But that was our technology then. There was another piece of technology that you'd never see anymore. I call it a wooden persuader. In front of some of the rooms, there was a panel. It was more a visual deterrent. Make sure you came to class on time, had your homework done, and proper class behavior. Like I said, it was used a couple times, but not often, but the threat always hung over the student's head. If you had a writing assignment, this took work. You went to the library, you went to the card catalog, which directed you to the proper books or manuals that you were going to use. And you used things like encyclopedias, almanacs, annuals, periodicals, and you read them since you couldn't copy them, you had to write the information down on 3x5 cards. And then off your 3x5 cards, you would write your project. And then if you were lucky, your family had a typewriter, you could type it. If you were really lucky, they had an electric typewriter and you could type with that. If not, you wrote your project out in cursive, longhand, and handed it in. And it was accepted the day it was due. So that was our technology, quite limited. But it was a great place to teach. The students were great. The faculty was great. Fairport, Martha Brown particularly, the residents considered us to be the flagship school, the school that set the standards for the rest of the school district. The parents were happy when their children were assigned to Martha Brown. They wanted them here. Now, we had the best faculty, we had the best students. Our faculty was extremely close. We regarded each other as our second family. And after listening to the awards that Martha Brown has already received for being an outstanding school, I see that the flagship school still continues to this day. And one other thing in passing before I end out, and if you turn around, you'll know why, and take a look at the teachers. Not only do we have the most knowledgeable and talented teachers, we had the best looking staff for the whole school district. So that's it. Thank you.
Coach Logan, that was awesome. And I tell you right now, we talk about physical fitness all the time. Coach is my role model to look like that. Look at this guy, 50 years later, still in excellent shape. You see the guy working out 5 days a week. Give him a round of applause. We did call him coach. We did call him coach back then. I'm going to slide just real quick on the agenda. This is Ann Brooks, former parent and actually grandparent of kids at Martha Brown. She was actually here 25 years ago and played a part in our 25th celebration. And I thought it was important to kind of make those connections, past, present, future. Wanted to have Mrs. Brooks. I know she can only be here for a short amount of time. Let's give her a nice round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to be here, to be a part of this wonderful day. I have such memories of today. Believe it or not, it was sort of like today, 25 years ago. And I've had nine children go through the school system, grandchildren. I have 3 children, I have 9 grandchildren that have gone through the system. I have 3 children, one in the high school, one in this school, and one in Jefferson Ave. And I'll tell you, it has been such a wonderful experience to be a part of this school district and this community. It is such a blessing. Now, I'm not going to sing a whole song, but I'm just going to sing a couple of little nudges of a song. Because every one of us in here has an angel. We have someone who steps into our lives and makes a difference. And that person you should never, ever forget. I get so emotional, I get myself together. So I thought I would just share a couple words of this song. Don't worry about my voice, it's a little hoarse today. I'm out in this weather and I gotta get back to where I was working with students at U of R. And I thought that this would be a nice day to reflect. For a season, all of us seasoned ones, who shared all these years, you know what I'm talking about. For you young ones, an angel is the person who steps in and says, it's going to be okay. I love you. It's all right. That's what an angel is. So I just like to share a couple of words of this song at the same time. And it's a cappella, so bear with me. You're my angel. My angel, I thank you, for the kindness you've shown me. Yes, I did. That's all I'm gonna say.
For the eighth graders, you remember Mr. Shire. Give Mr. Shire a nice round of applause. I believe 22 years of service to Mike Brown. Second year in his retirement, even though we didn't pull him out for a couple of tours of duty at the Glen Parent at Minerva High School. Mr. Shire, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Mr. Dunn. It's my pleasure to be here, and I was thrilled that Mr. Dunn invited me. 25 years ago, as Mr. Dunn said, I started working here. But it really wasn't work. When you find something you love and you get the opportunity to work with people that are so great, students and staff, you just enjoy it. So I had to take a little step back to how it was when I first started here. It was only the first or second year that we started middle school. 6th grade was new to the building. 6th grade actually came in at a different time than the 7th and 8th graders. They were dropped off by the flagpole and were kind of sequestered in one section of the building from the library to where Mr. O'Gorman's room is. And many of the teachers would say, there's an 8th grader in my wing. There's an 8th grader in the 6th grade wing. And I'm like, they're all our kids. And shortly after that, we added a wing where the art room and technology room is. And we were able to create more of a middle school. 6th grade came in at the same time and left at the same time as 7th and 8th graders. We created teams. When we first had our middle school, it was more of a junior high structure still, and we created the teams. Our guidance staff, we created a staff that had you when you started as a 6th grader and remained with you. Prior to that, it was a guidance counselor had all 3 years. And if you were unfortunate at the alphabet cut, you could have one guidance counselor 1 year and another guidance counselor the next. Then we moved on. About 20 years ago, when the front wing was added, our enrollment started to increase. Now right now, you guys are about 750 to 800 students. That's about what it was when I started. There was a time when we added that new wing that our enrollment skyrocketed to 1,100 students. So think if next year we kept this graduating 8th grade class moving on to Minerva here and brought in the 6th graders, think how many more students would be in this gymnasium right now. It was jam-packed. We were at capacity. And as Coach Logan said, with some of that addition, we added the new gymnasium. Well, we call it the new gymnasium. Now it's pretty old. But the older staff refers to the small gym as the new gymnasium. And we built some neat things there. The climbing wall. And everybody pitched in. Mr. Brown and his staff, Mr. Chula and his staff, Coach Logan, Coach Garrett, myself, we all helped build that wall. Mrs. Kilgore painted the wall. So it was really Mr. Jane painted part of the wall. So again, it was a family effort. We wanted the best for our kids. And then just recently, we had a renovation to our building, the front office, where we now have a main entrance. We never really had a main entrance. The nurse's office was where the main office used to be, for those that aren't familiar with the building. The nurse's office used to be where the robotics club keeps their items. Mrs. Antonucci's desk is basically placed where my office used to be. And again, people that start to work here love this place. Mrs. Antonucci was upfront and honest with us and said, you know, I want to be upfront, I'm only going to do this for a year or two. And I think this is her 15th year. Because we feel the love in this building, we know that the staff and the students work together, and it's great that you continue to do that. Some of the things when we did that renovation that were unique, the small gym was used as a band room. Those that are in performance groups, you now have practice rooms. Before that, your practice rooms used to be in the vestibule doorways, in the hall, wherever the teachers could find a space to practice. That small gym was also used as a cafeteria. The cafeteria wasn't completed on time, so for September and part of October, we served 3 lunches out of the small gym. Now for a while, the students thought it was great because we were getting pizza and we were getting Taco Bell and Subway. And by the 3rd week, students were like, oh my gosh, when that cafeteria is going to be done, we really want to eat in our cafeteria. And as we moved on, Mr. Dunn and I knew we had something special here. And as a parent, you always think, man, my kid is the best. That's the way we felt about our school. But we just didn't want to be in our own feelings. So we applied for Schools to Watch. That was a 2-year process where we had to submit 4 large loose leaves of information. And the following year, they sent 3 administrators from other school buildings to come out and look at what we wrote to see if it actually took place. And they said, you know what? In 2012, they said, you have a really phenomenal middle school here. Something that I knew for the past 23 years. And what makes it great is the students, the staff, everybody takes pride in working here. Mr. Brown and his staff, when you came back from Christmas vacation, I'm sure those floors were shiny, the rooms were all clean. He takes pride in his work. The teachers want you to succeed to the best of your ability. And you should take pride in your school. I see a lot of pride here today, wearing school colors. I know you participate in your clubs and activities. And what I would tell you to do is continue to do that, because time goes by extremely fast. I worked with Coach Logan and enjoyed that. And I can't believe 23 years here went by so fast. So as you're finishing up, this will be the last year I'll see my students that I worked with in 8th grade. I wish you the best as you finish out your year. May your Washington trip be smooth and no bus breakdowns. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of stories. But again, find something that you love. Put your heart and soul into it, and you will love what you do. Follow your teacher's lead and strive to be the best you can be. Congratulations on celebrating this 50th year of Martha Brown.
Good job. Mr. Shire, thank you. Academic Challenge Bowl, are we ready? Mr. Martin, do we have our 4 Nobel Peace Prize or academic winners are back there? I got this staff team has never been defeated in any kind of trivia competition of any type. I know we're going up against a very, very high-powered Martha Brown team. We got Mr. Martin, retired math teacher. Got Mr. Balzano. These guys are college roommates back in the day. Retired math teacher. Senor Hughes, retired foreign language teacher. And Mr. Roberts, retired science teacher. Incredibly smart people. Question is, are they smarter than the average 8th grader?
the buzzers work. So we'll go with Jake, Brian, Mason, Alan, Mr. Martin, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Balzano, and Senor Hughes. Okay. Okay, all of these are going to be toss-up questions, meaning that... Okay, next question. When this rock erodes by carbonic acid, it releases carbon dioxide. Under high pressure, this metamorphoses into marble. Colin? Limestone it is. All right, one of these creatures named Archimedes teaches the wart and serves as Merlin's familiar in the Once and Future King. Gylfi, Digger, and Soren are some of these creatures and guardians of the Hule series. Ryan? Owls it is. Okay, one ruler of this place signed the Bayonet Constitution. Rulers lived in the Iolani Palace. This place was where James Dole founded a pineapple company. The native? Mr. Martin, yes it is. Okay, this figure made a musical instrument out of a tortoise and traded it for some cattle he stole. Okay. And that is not. I'll finish. Okay. This son of Maya not only gave Apollo his lyre, but he lent Perseus his winged sandals. The caduceus was another symbol of, for 10 points, what messenger god, the Greek equivalent of Mercury? It was Hermes. Yes. Next, this city was captured by the Eight Nations Alliance in the Boxer Rebellion, and its old summer palace was sacked during the Opium Wars. Mason? No, that is not correct. Okay. Beijing? Beijing, yes. Okay. All right. Okay, one work by this poet claimed that every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you, while another describes a leader who has fallen cold and dead. The poems, Song of Myself and O Captain, My Captain, were written by, for 10 points, what poet who published the collections Leaves of Grass? It is. Okay, one more question, another literature. Books in this series include The Pearls of Lutra, The Tagarung, and The Sable Queen. One of its characters fights Bangdran and ends Queen Sarmina's rule over Mouseflower. The mouse is named Martin the Warrior. Animals live in the Abbey of, for 10 points, what Brian Jakes series? Brian? No. All right, Redwall. How many of you knew that? Yeah, Neil. Okay. So now we're going to go for the lightning round. I'm going to ask. We'll start with the teachers. I have 5 questions. You can confer. Okay. First question, and this is you don't need to buzz in. Name the 6 principles in order from first to the present that have led Martha Brown.
That's like impossible.
Okay. Yes. Yep, Mr. Peck, Cal Darman. Mr. Petty. Hagerman. Yes.
And what was that last one? Mr. Dunn.
Correct. Out of order. Lyman Cook was before Mike Hagerman. We'll give it to you. Okay, another question. There have only been 3 school nurses at Martha Brown. Name all 3 school nurses. Alex D'Annunzio, Barb Mason, and Mrs. Antonucci. Yes, all right. A couple toss-up for the students. All right. Name the current 7th grader who designed our school flag. Aaron Cook. Okay, and last question, 2 parts. Which Martha Brown retired teacher is the weight room named? And for which Martha Brown teacher is the Raider Rock named? The weight room or the rock? Okay, and he was up here speaking earlier, the weight room? Coach Logan, yes. All right. I'm calling it a tie.
Yeah, it's a great tie here. Let's give it up for our staff and our students. Okay, now let's listen up and give it up for Mrs. Samantha Anderson and our orchestra. take you back to 65-0 Will. I'd like to have some running partners come up here. Coach Garrett and Mr. Bolzano ran together for many, many years, first thing in the morning before many of us were even up out of bed. Coach Garrett retired phys ed, Mr. Bolzano retired math teacher. Mr. Bolzano's claim to fame, almost one of his biggest mistakes, was he hired me way back in '77. So give these guys a nice round of applause.
I want to see a chin-up contest between Coach Logan and you, Mr. Dunn. And this is over today. Coach Early. I don't think so. Let's everyone stand up for a second. You've sitting too long. Coach, you got a phone call. And I said, who is it? And she said, it's a boy that you had many years ago. His name was Juan Steele. I called him the Man of Steel. And he called at that time to, I hadn't seen Juan or heard from Juan in 10 years. And out of the blue, he called here thinking that I was still here. I think I'd been retired 3 years at that time. And he said, Coach, I just want to tell you that my brother got killed last week running or jogging in front of Nazareth College. And he said, I also want to tell you that I'm a single father now. I had a daughter. But he said, I really called to tell you to thank you and thank all the teachers that I had at Martha Brown for believing in me. So I want to take this opportunity to thank all the teachers, present and past at Martha Brown, for believing in every one of these students that you've ever had here. I want to thank the administrators for believing in us, the teachers, for letting us do our thing, letting us what I call hike our hike. And I want to thank the students, you guys especially, for believing in yourselves. Because you people are the ones that should be believing that you have tons of potential here. Believe that you're going to be great. Believe that great things are going to happen in your life, and they will. So Martha Brown, happy birthday. I hope I'm around for the next 51.
I want you all to know that one of the best things I ever did was hire Dave Dunn. He came on a very good recommendation from our very first principal, Floyd Peck. Floyd said, there's this young man, I think he's really good, and I want you to interview him and see what he's all about. When you're done, I want you to come down here and tell me you're going to hire him. So knowing who my superior was, we hired him, and aren't we glad we did so? One of the administrators that I was very proud to work with here in the Fairport District was Dr. John Eckhart. Someone earlier today said that Martha Brown is the flagship of the Fairport School District. And having taught elsewhere, within this district and without, I can tell you that's the truth. But John Eckhart had a very popular saying that he used to give to us before every department leaders meeting to remind us of what our mission was. And that is that education should not be an accident of geography. That every student had an inherent right to a quality education. And if we didn't believe it, we didn't belong in the business. Well, I want to tell you, when I started here after coming from Vermont, where I taught at the University of Vermont and at Burlington High School there, teaching in a middle school was totally different to me. And within a year, I was a department leader, accepted by the staff here as the youngest person on staff to be their leader. You talk about middle school being a place to grow up. I grew up here. And I became the person I became because of the people who accepted me. And I'm talking about the wonderful staff I worked with and with all the wonderful students that I had. But the one thing that I learned more than I ever taught was that Martha Brown was a place where respect lived. And your behavior today, your acceptance of this celebration, your celebration of all the people that have made Martha Brown special is simple enough to me that respect still lives and thrives right in the flagship, Martha Brown. Thank you very much.
I didn't finish the story about Ron. The last thing he said to me was, Coach, I can do 10 chin-ups now.
Little side note about these guys, they did run at 5:30 in the morning. They spent 15 minutes cleaning up all of the garbage after the run before they came into school every day. True story. I'd like to now bring up a couple of our historians. Mr. Eniat, and a former student of mine, a former Martha Brown student and current assistant principal, Mr. Ryan Clare. Both you guys come on up.
First of all, I want to compliment you students for sitting here very patiently and listening to all us talk. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you. Mr. Gunn asked me to talk for a couple of reasons. One, because I was part of that 8th grade class back in 1965 when they first opened this up. I was part of the original ceremony, along with my friend Steve Antes back here. All right. He actually was the student advisor, or student representative for our class at that ceremony. But another reason I was asked is because I later came back to Martha Brown and I got a job teaching here, and I taught her for 34 years. And my class, the class of 1969, was part of what we call the baby boom. And when we graduated from Fairport High School, we had 264 people in our graduating class. It was the largest class Fairport ever had. The problem was, every class behind us, all the way to kindergarten, was bigger than ours. Fairport was overflowing with students, and the school system had to accommodate them. So because I was a social studies teacher, I'm going to give you a little history of the schools and why they were built. When I began in kindergarten, they had just built, a couple years before I started, Johanna Parent, back in 1955. In fact, in October, they're celebrating their 60th year. I was subbing yesterday over at JP, and I looked around and realized I was teaching in the building that I went to kindergarten in. But I was in that building through 6th grade. While I was in that building, they had built a new high school. That high school was Minerva DeLand. And they had moved all the students from what they referred to as the West Avenue School, all the high school students, over to Minerva DeLand in 1959. And that West Avenue School became a 7th and 8th grade school. And that's where I attended 7th grade, and we actually referred to it as the Martha Brown. So they had already made the middle school, or the junior high, Martha Brown, before they had moved. They had started to build this school. We were supposed to be done at the beginning of the school year, but they were not, so we didn't move over until the middle of my 8th grade year in 1965. They also decided, because already that Minerva DeLand school was getting overcrowded, to add the 9th grade. So we also were the first 9th grade in Martha Brown as well. After this, the classes, I said, will keep getting bigger and bigger. So in 1966, they had to build Jefferson Avenue. I forgot to mention they already had also built Brooks Hill in 1962. But the classes still kept getting bigger and bigger. Finally, they had to build a new high school. In 1970, they opened up the high school that we know now. So my class graduated from Minerva DeLand, and then 70, 71 after that, they were all at the new high school. The last two buildings to be built were Northside and Dudley, and they were built in 1971. So you got to realize that in about 16, 17 years, they had to build 8 schools to accommodate that baby boom that came through Fairport. And they have not built another school since. All right? And so now they've just kind of built on their few schools. Just as a comparison though, I said my class was 264. The classes now range mostly over 500 for each class. I think the high school has about 1,600 kids in it now. So we've changed over the years. Just a couple quick comments about that move over here from the old Martha Brown to the new Martha Brown. There's a lot of things I don't remember of that day. A couple of things I do remember is I always had walked to school. And so for the first time, I now had to take a bus way out here into the country to go to Martha Brown. But one of the hardest things that day was they had to move the library. And the library had thousands of books. And they knew it would take a very long time to pack up all those books, get them over here, take them up that little elevator we have here, and then unload them. So someone was thinking that day. We went to school at West Avenue School like we normally did. We all walked up to the library, and they handed us a stack of books. Over 200 of us then got on buses. 5 buses took us over here to this school. We all walked up to this library, handed them to the librarian, who put them on the shelves. They moved the library in an hour and a half. Pretty nice. So, thank you for having me here today.
I'm going to speak on behalf of every adult that's here watching you guys. I cannot tell you how proud I am of you. You've been here, some of you haven't eaten since 9:30. You've been seated for a while. Very, very proud every day to work with you as your assistant principal. Very special day. Nice work. Outside of my parents and grandparents, the people that impacted my life the most were my teachers. So proud as well to have gone through Martha Brown and to have gone through the Fairport school system. The folks that you see seated behind you in those black chairs are retired Martha Brown teachers, many of them. Let's give them a round of applause. I want to single out one of my teachers and then we'll move on with the program. This teacher, math teacher, 8th grade. Very memorable because he did a couple of things. He made math fun. We knew as students how much he cared about us. And you could tell that he loved his job. Now that person is Mr. Dunn, who brings that same passion as principal. Real quick, I just want to frame what he has given to Martha Brown, and we've acknowledged, but we cannot do the history of Martha Brown here without recognizing him. Mr. Dunn came to Martha Brown as a student, 7th grader, 12 years old, wild-eyed, in 1967. He graduated Fairport, went on to college, came back at age 22 to teach math. Did that for 18 years. After that, principal. This is his 21st year as principal. I'm not a big math guy, but I think I told that up to be about 41 years. Martha Brown's only been around for 41 years of passion, energy, and caring for kids. Let's give it up for Mr. Dunn.
Mr. Dunn. We ready for the unveiling? While the concert band's playing, we're going to call the social studies teachers up. As soon as they're done, we're going to see what's in the cornerstone.
Again, let's hang tight, and again, ditto everybody. You guys and gals have been awesome. Let's give it a round of applause.
floor Josh Burmeister, Katie Chisonis, Aiden Dodd, Will Hughes, Hunter Lavoie, Evan Randall, and Angela Santilleri. We're looking back 50 years here, and 50 years ago, this stone was laid, and there were items put in a copper box. And for the first time since that box was sealed, we will now see what is inside. So let's pull the tarp away. Cornerstone in new building, and then is typed letter from Martha Brown, September 25th, 1964, and it's in her handwriting. Now, I will try to read that. It says, Board of Education, Fairport Central Schools, Fairport, New York, dear friends, I wish to thank you for the honor shown me in giving my name to the new junior high school. I well remember how proud we all were when we went into the new building on West Avenue, and how pleased I was later when it was given my name. But today comes the greatest honor I have ever received, and it certainly has made me very happy. I was very pleased to see Dr. Deller, for I had heard so many fine things about him from one of our former principals who is now in the educational field. My best wishes to you all who are working to make our schools the very best. Sincerely, Martha A. Brown.
To hear words from Martha Brown. That's awesome. We're looking at artifacts that haven't been touched in 50 years. These newspapers look like they're brand new because the box was air sealed. Of every student attended Martha Brown alphabetically. We got the program and a list of all the administration and faculty. This will be on display tomorrow at our community sharing from 10 o'clock till noon. It'll also be on permanent display in a trophy case in Martha Brown. I'd like to have Mrs. Marilyn Montalban begin her student teaching career here in 1965. I had the pleasure of teaching with her for many years. She's retired and is now the Vice President of the Board of Education. Since Martha Brown's letter was addressed to the board, I think it's fitting that we close the program out with Mrs. Montalban. Next round of applause.
teacher, 19-year-old student teacher at Martha Brown. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into teaching at the time, but after my experience here, with the children, with the students, with the faculty, it sealed my belief that I wanted teaching as a career, and later on in the 90s, I actually taught in Martha Brown. Thank you.
September 29th, 1964. Dear Dr. Deller, I want to thank you